hi there, guys. Well, we've got us Loadstar project. So I've been mulling this over for a few weeks now, and it's time. It's time to start this project. Now I know I'm in the middle of building a whole other truck. So yeah, I mean, what better time to start building another truck? Because, you know, I love biting off more than I can chew, so F it. We're gonna make this truck into something significantly different than what it is. Now, for all of you diehard, you know, Detroit Diesel fans who watch this series on this truck purely because of that, fear not. The 671 is staying. The Fuller 10-speed is staying. Rear axle probably is staying. If I can get the damn thing to seal up, it still leaks like a sieve out of the pinion. And I've tried every gasket and seal and speedy sleeve you can imagine, and it's still leaking just as bad as it ever was. So I don't know. Yeah, we don't drive it much. Well, who cares? Let's gear lube, you know. Anyway, but what we're changing is that back there. I'm gonna flip you around. Let's talk about it. Okay, so this is, you know, if you guys remember, I'll splice in a little picture here. This is what this truck was originally. So this was a, you know, I don't know, 400 bushel-ish. You know, it had 4-foot sides. I don't know, you can tell from the pictures. I think they were 4-foot sides with maybe 1-foot extensions. They were 3-foot sides with 1-foot extensions. But anyway, it had steel sides, and this is just a flatbed basically. But it is you can see down there, that's the dump frame. It is a twin-cylinder dump. So, where I'm at with it is I don't need it to be a dump truck. You know, it's kind of cool if it's the landscaping look, but I don't use it. I never will use it. And this past winter, spring, winter, I finally was like, you know what, I'm going to get the dump hooked up and working. And I ran I installed the PTO cable through here, which sucks now that we're talking about what we're talking about. And I previously installed right there the control cable for the hydraulic dump. And I went and got lines made. That's actually the lines right up there, if you can see them. Right there, you can see brand new lines. And got that all done and pulled the PTO pump off. So the PTO, you know, the gear drive, the PTO mechanism is still on the transmission, but I pulled the pump off and I took it all into my hydraulic shop. And when they made the lines, and lo and behold, they looked at it and they said, Rob, this pump is shot. It is no good. Had been full of water at some point, rusted, junk. And, you know, of course I made the mistake of telling them that, well, this isn't a huge priority for me, so take your time. Well, here we are, 6-8 months later. Every time I go in to have skid steer hoses or something or another made, they say, yeah, we're still working on that. Yeah, my ass. So, good guys, but they're busy. And this really isn't a priority. So, what I've decided is, because of some other needs I have, and the fact that I love freaking projects, I'm going to take this off. I've actually got it sold already. I've got a gentleman who, and some of you guys might have seen that if you're Facebook friends with me. You can follow me there, which I don't post much of anything. But regardless, I did have it for sale. So I'm selling it as a unit with cylinders and reservoir and hoses and PTO cable, you know, hinge assemblies, you name it. So somebody's got a ready to go. And the cylinders do leak, but otherwise it is ready to go. So today's video, we're gonna get this thing off. So I'll show you. It's pretty straightforward. It doesn't get much easier. So first I've got to get, I'm not selling mud flaps, so we got to unbolt all 4 mud flaps and anti-sail brackets. Obviously the brackets go with it. So we got to unbolt those. We've got you know, 16 bolts. That's pretty straightforward. We'll get those out of here. And then it is literally as simple as just these through shafts, like an axle basically. So we're basically going to grind that pin off because that's not going to happen. I think it's a bolt maybe on the other side. Oh yeah, there's just a keeper bolt there. So we actually will probably loosen up that 9/16 bolt there, 5/8, whatever it is. And hopefully, I mean, they've all taken grease fine. They do really good. So hopefully that axle will just send right through. And it's basically the same thing up there that holds the cylinders to the body. Once those two axles are out, we're going to just snip these marker light feeds. The rest of my lights are already mounted to the frame of the truck, so nothing comes off there. And yeah, that's about the size of it, fellas. So we're gonna get that off, the wire snipped, the two axles out. Then I'm thinking we're gonna just pull this right out here. We're gonna use the skid steer that's sitting outside to pull this bed off. I'll bring you along for that. And then we can work on unbolting the rest of the you know, the reservoir and the cylinders from the frame, because we'll have wide open access. It'll be so much easier at that point. So, well, let's get after it, fellas. Okay, so we're underneath the truck. We're onto the front, and if you guys can see, let me get the old flashlight. But so this is 1967 when this was installed. So very simple. We got some big, must be 1.75 inch, maybe 2 inch shafts is all these is, with those shaft collars like that over there. So there was one here, and you see we got the two inners, and so these inners just keep the cylinders from sliding. We got the same thing going on up top. So you can see where I've loosened all of the shaft collars. Believe it or not, those set screws all came off by hand, no lube, no heat. And a couple of them, that one up there is still black. I guess that's the only one. The other 4 did require some acetylene to break them free from the shaft itself. But otherwise, they were moving. Now this one, you can see up here, I've got the upper one, which is the one I really need right now. I've got it sliding. So I got to finish sending it through. But right now I'm about to push it through the cylinder, and I don't want that cylinder to flop down on the pavement. So I'm going to see if I can use some wire and tie it off. And we'll have to do the same thing on the other side, but then we can keep pounding that shaft through, and that'll be out. And then you know, I can do the same thing here. This one though, really honestly doesn't even need to come out, so I don't know that I'm going to bother, because you see we've got a series of, it looks like, I don't know, 5-6 bolts there that hold that frame. So what they did was they welded a piece of 1/4 inch, this piece right here, they welded that into the frame right on the inside, and then the rest of that just bolts. So we should be able to break those bolts free. And you know, once the flatbed's off, then we can just drop the whole thing down with the cylinders, and I think that's going to be the ticket. So easier than even taking that thing out. So if they want to, the buyer does, they can, but you know, we've loosened up the shaft collars, so everything's free. I think all it would take is probably some additional persuasion, but then some heat on these bushing points right here on each side, and then she'll slide, because the cylinders are rocking and moving. So that being said, I'm gonna get back to work here, get this tied up, send this upper shaft through, and then we'll start doing the same thing on the hinge on the back. Well, guys, the tie wire did absolutely nothing. It's too close to the pivot point, and it's not heavy enough. So yeah, we're gonna give up on that. Tis what it is, but get that out of there. But anyway, it's pretty loose now, so now I'm gonna get those 2 other sleeves out, and maybe do some tapping from in here, but that shaft is pretty loose now and everything else, so I think we'll be able to pull it through and let that other cylinder drop, and that'll be the first part gone. Then we'll do the hinge. Okay, well, both cylinders are on the ground. So that shaft, that 2-inch shaft up there just is not, it's too long to get all the way out. So that's okay. We just slid it as far as we could and then slid the cylinder off and yada, yada, yada.
All right, Ty, it's up to you. All you have to do is eat a little bit, and you're the champion.
Yada, yada, yada.
All right, guys, well, off camera, I've been muscling this crap around, and I did give up on that shaft. That one is seized pretty good, so, but that does not have to come out to get this apart, nor does it have to come out to get, unless he wants to rebuild the cylinders, and then, but, you know, the buyer can figure that part out, to be honest with you. Back here, the shaft collar on that side came off by hand, no big deal. I have heated these bushings on the hinges more times than I can count. Gotten them cherry red, quenched them, cherry red, quenched them. I cannot get these to budge. What I found is I did jack up the dump box a little bit, and I put a paint mark on both the shaft and the bushing, and it is definitely seized in the dump bed. It's not seized in the frame. It's rotating in the frame of the truck, so it's free there. So next plan of action is we are going to torch cut, give ourselves a gap. We're just going to abandon this axle, give ourselves a gap in it, and then I may cut it close to each end as well. We'll see what all this gets us, but hopefully some heat and some movement. Cutting the ends free will give me a little bit more freedom to use the air hammer and the hammer itself and things like that, and let us get this out of here. All right, another attempt. This might fly off and murder me. It might not. It might work. I've hollowed out with the torch. I've heated the shit out of it. I've hit it. I've impacted it. Nothing is working. So I'm gonna see if I can get. Oh, I think this boy over here, it's either bending the, oh yeah, it's bending the hinge. For sure. Well, we'll put some good pressure on it. And now we'll heat it. See what happens. Well, geez. Looks like a damn murder scene. Well, it's loose. This bed is just sitting here on the old frame rails. She's loose up front. She's loose back here. This kicked my butt. I'm not gonna lie. So this truck, this body, this upfit was done in well, I don't know, sometime in 1966 or 1967. So that's what, 53 years, 56, 57, almost maybe even 58 years ago. I mean, the guy who did this upfit, who did this welding work on these hinges, let's be honest, he's probably been in the ground for a few years. Yeah, it came off kicking and screaming. So here's the problem. What I ended up doing was unbolting, and then there was some welds as well on these hinge plates here. I ended up taking those off of the dump frame. So you can see, like on this side, where that was. So that's still intact. You know, the guy who is buying this, he may or may not put them in the exact same spot. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to decide to do with it. But regardless, if he does, they'll go right back in there. If he wants to change it slightly based on his truck, he can. What I'm looking at, what I probably should have done is torched off this portion right here. This was the back. Because this is what we're dealing with here. Now, this one actually doesn't show it very well. Let me show you the other side. So you can see inside there, I mean, there's this piece of square stock. This was built around this hinge. I mean, they fabricated this tube. You can see here, they put this plate on they plated it and extended the frame out. But there is, that side you can see it better. There's a weld all the way around where they boxed this in. So at any rate, if you look inside there, you can see there's another bushing, and that's our problem. So once this bed is off and everything's starting to go onto a pallet for the buyer, I may get in here and try heating on that and put stuff in the vise or the press and try to get those last of those shafts out. I'd love to be able to hand it over to the buyer that way, where, you know, he's got all the parts and he just has to get a new shaft, a new, you know, dump axle basically is what I would call it. But here's what we're left with. You can see up through to the boxed portion there. I cleaned that out a little bit. I'll have to clean it out a little bit more. Ended up having to cut the lights loose, so we'll do some temporary work. And you know, this truck is still going to go to a show. It's going to go to a show as a cab and chassis, but we'll do some something or another there. Maybe get the mud flaps back mounted. I got some metal laying around and whatnot, so I'm sure we can figure something out. Oh, looks like my wife's ducks are wandering around the yard. I hear turkeys too. Jesus Christ. So yeah, I didn't take you long for this because there was a lot of cursing. I was cursing this truck. I was cursing my luck. I was covered in dirt and rust. I've got burns. I still got a chunk of something in my eye. And yes, to the safety police, yes, I was wearing safety glasses. And I was wearing my torching glasses. I even had ear protection. Look at that. Yes, safety police. Yes, I do wear stuff. Oh, yeah, turkey. Turkeys do not belong in the barn. Bye, turkey. Bye, turkey. Bye. Go see your family. Yeah, go. Turkey. Yeah, go with the other turkeys. Jesus Christ, damn petting zoo out here. Yeah, but sometimes stuff happens and still get hurt. And yes, I could be more careful, but quite frankly, you know, I'm on my soapbox real quick. I don't subscribe to the safety culture that this country has dove itself into in the last 20 years.
You mean you'll work on engines and machinery and not think of your own personal safety? Here, shake hands with danger.
Shake hands with danger.
You know, sometimes you have to get things done, and those things are dangerous. So that's life. That's part of being a human being. So if we were all as safe as we could be, we'd live in bubbles and we'd never go anywhere, and everything would cost $1 million. So, you know, and honestly, that's part of the problem why everything does cost $1 million right now. Is because we've told ourselves that every creature comfort and every safety insurance factor has to happen no matter what. And you know what? Those things cost time and money. So off my soapbox, that's why I don't go crazy with the safety. Otherwise, I'd never get any of this done. You guys would have nothing to watch if we were crazy safety conscious, because this just wouldn't happen. So anyway, this is off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this cleaned up. I'm going to get that skid steer out there warming up because it's a nice chilly, brisk 45-degree fall day. And yeah, we're going to get these racks off. And we're going to get some chains hooked up, and we're going to hope that the lifting capacity of the skid steer is less than what this bed weighs, which I know it's under capacity. It's more of where is the weight. That's always the issue with the skid steer anyway. So, but I think it'll lift it just fine, and we're going to lift this up, and we're going to set it down for the time being, and we'll probably set it across the street, to be honest with you, and put it up on some blocks, and then we'll work on the truck out in the driveway there. We'll get we'll get the rest of the hydraulics assembly and the tank and whatnot unbolted out of the frame rails, and then we'll see what we do with this spare chassis for the time being. All right, let's get after it. All right, now I haven't thought about this, but I should probably address those of you wondering, why? Why, Rob? Why are we doing this? Look at this beautiful, restored 1967 International Loadstar. It's got a friggin' 671 Detroit Diesel swap with a fuller 10 speed. You know, why do you want to do this? Beautiful bed, beautiful, you know, side racks, blah, 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 blah. Well, guys, I gotta be honest, I'm kind of bored with this truck. It was my first major restoration, though. Well, I shouldn't say that, it really wasn't, but the first one that turned out really nice, let's put it that way. And I don't want to sell it, you know. It's got, I just don't want any part of getting rid of it. I don't think there's much of a market for it anyway. But that being said, I'm bored with it. The bed doesn't do anything for me. You know, I'm never, even if I got it all plumbed and got a PTO, got a pump, it's never going to dump. I don't want to, it doesn't do anything for me. And what I'm going to change it to is cool to me, and it's very useful to us, and I just think it's gonna make me like this truck again. I mean, you know, it doesn't do much for me when an old Ford L9000 with a little L10 Cummins in it gets me 10 times more excited than what this truck does. So I want to be excited about this truck again. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. All right, guys. Well, there we go. This is what it looked like as a road tractor, which, God, I kind of don't hate. It looks pretty sweet. A little Loadstar tractor with a 671. It's a little beast. But I told you I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag as to what we're doing here. I'll let that be a surprise. But I will tell you it's not that it's going to be a road tractor. This frame just isn't heavy enough for that, one way or the other. Huh. We got somebody did some cutting here at one point. And it wasn't me. Interesting. A little bit there too. You know, again, for what this truck is, I'm not too concerned about stuff like that. Cutting over there too. Interesting. Must have been at the upfit. Huh? Anyway, we shouldn't have to change much of any of this. We got to obviously, we've got to unbolt this tank. What do we got here? Look at that. You can tell this is a farm truck stored in a shed. Edbro, Bolton, England, is an FM2L. Always quote numbers below. So there's our valve. So we're gonna take that cable off, and I mean, honestly, yeah. That, I can't tell if that's, it is welded because some of the welds have rust jacked off. Guys, we may, to be honest with you, just take these 4 bolts off and leave that framework on the truck. At the very least, we're going to use those to get it off, and then we'll decide, once I got better access, whether I'm going to take the rest of that bracketry off or not. Probably will, just because I'll probably take... Those tabs got to come off one way or the other, and they are just bolted on. I don't see any welds on those, so we can zip those off once we've got everything clear. So, yeah, we'll probably take the bracketry off. But anyway, this is going to be the fun part because this is welded. It looks like those lower welds there have rust jacked themselves clear, though. Hopefully, there's not much in the way of this cross member because we'll be able to grind out these 3 stitch welds on the tops. That one looks like it's possibly rust jack free too. And then we'll honestly probably just torch the 10 total bolts holding those on. So, but then we'll just get a jack underneath that axle right there, underneath that connects those twin cylinders, and then let the whole thing down and scoot it out, come pick it up with skid steer, get on a pallet, and yeah, that's it. So this gives you a little better idea of the Loadstar, what she's all about. You can see just the girth of that axle. You know, single axles are always a little bigger physically than what tandem setups are, but man, this thing, both of my trucks, the L9000 and this, were both basically heavy spec single axles. By this, of course, I mean the Fleet Star that this came out of. So that Fleet Star was a tandem per se, but it was a single drive with an airlift rear axle. So the drive axle was the front axle, and this is that axle out of that truck, and it is just a behemoth, just a heavy, huge axle. And the L9000 is the same way. At any rate, it's a big boy. It is still leaking like a sieve. And you can see that moisture right there around that pinion seal. You know, I was worried it was these seals back in here. It's not. It's that pinion. So I'm going to pull it apart again at some point here and see if we can figure out what's up with that seal. I think the international dealer just got the wrong one. I've put a speedy sleeve on it, like I say, and we're still, I mean, it's not a little leak. It's a big leak. You can see how wet we are. From what little bit I drive it, you can see how wet it is on the frame rail. You know, good corrosion prevention, but I don't need it leaking like that. And you can see what it does after I park it. Yeah, look at my footprints. Anyway, this was my contraption to keep everything up while I let this all down and cut. I'm going to leave that strap right up. It'll help hold it. We'll let it down when everything's free. The other thing I want to point out that's going to change on this truck, I think, is, you know, I like Loadstars because they were a light, medium-duty truck, and they just had a look, especially the butterfly hood trucks. I don't like the heavier spec Loadstars, just from an aesthetics standpoint. And a hallmark of the lighter duties, the 1700s and the 1600s, was that they had 900, if not 820s, sometimes 7 1/4 20s for tires. Now a 920 is real similar to this 275 70 22.5 that I'm running on the steer. If anything, it might even be a hair smaller. I just have to do the, look it up and see what the OD spec is, but I would bet you that a 920 is actually a hair smaller than a 275 metric tire, because I've done the conversion to 22.5s. I've got 295s on the rear. That is, 295s are very similar to a 1020. Again, maybe just a hair smaller, maybe. They're right there with a 1020. 1020s are very similar to 11R 22.5s. So, and 295s are a little smaller, about a, I don't know, I can't remember the spec, but about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch total diameter, maybe up to an inch, I don't know, somewhere right in there, an inch or less total diameter smaller than a 11R. They are, they are considered a low pro, but just barely. 295s is what I run on my L9000. I've always disliked these tires since they went on. I just don't like them. They're too tall. I actually think the 275s are maybe a hair too tall. So we might be making a change, even if I go to a used tire, to be honest with you. I love the fact that these are nice, pretty new tires, but tires aren't everything, especially for what I do. I don't drive it ever. So, and I'm not gonna, even with the changes we're about to embark on. So I'm either gonna go to 275s on the rear to match, or I may even go 255s all the way around. 255s would give it that look, like a 7 1/4 20, and that would just be killer. It would kill my top speed. I'd go from 60 down to probably 50 miles an hour. But quite frankly, I don't care. It doesn't really matter on this truck. So, and if we were worried, yeah, we could always we could swap rear ends. We may swap rear ends anyway if I give up on this stupid pinion seal leak. So, but at any rate, that's a lot of work if I don't have to do, I don't want to do. So anyway, that's some of what we're going to do. Let's get after getting this thing disassembled and get some temporary flaps on this thing and call it good. All right, so success. We've got the tank came out fine. One of those brackets actually wasn't welded to the chassis. I remember that now. I don't know what it, like it never was. There was no welds there. So anyway, that's out. We got the PTO control out. Or I'm sorry, not the PTO control, but the dump control out. So I'll have to make a plate. We'll measure that up and get that cut. Make us a plate. And then I realized I'm leaving the PTO. The PTO cable's not going with the truck, or with the bed, I mean. Because, the PTO is still in the truck. And you never know what we might use that for. I've actually got one that just spins it to a drive shaft sitting out in the bus across the street. We might be able to use that for something. Hell, we could run a generator. We could do all kinds of things. So I don't want to get rid of that. I don't feel like making a block off plate on the transmission anyway. So that's not going with this. The rest of these brackets, they aren't of any use to anybody. It's not worth getting them off. I do still have to get off those guides for the dump, but you can see this is free. I'm letting it cool down. I did torch these bolts out, but man, look at that. There's still clean steel from 1967 in there. It was a tight fit. But anyway, that's all free. I got those plates to move a little bit on the shaft. That'll be the new owner's task, though. I'm not gonna put too much effort into that. So, but I did get them to budge a little bit in order to get this to condense down and drop out. So that's good. Now I'm working on these hinges. So I cut out, there was these plates that were in the way, so I couldn't see, and that let me get heat to those inner bushings. And I've been working on this one, and as you can see, she's coming out. that was just with the hammer. Heated that up cherry, put it up on some wood, and I've now ground clean where I had that peened over, and I'm going to take the old air hammer to it and see if we can send that thing free. Probably going to have to end up stacking up some more wood. All right, well, she's all degreased and power washed, as clean as it's been since I painted it. With that pinion seal leak, this thing gets nasty, so it is clean again. Yeah, we got to tackle some mud flaps. I don't have much sitting around that's long enough, but you know what I got? I changed my garage door a couple 3 months ago, and there's a piece of basically a T-post. That'll work. And I don't know. We'll see what else we can. We got some other steel, so we'll see what else we can piece together. At least get rear flaps. Okay, well, there we have it. I think the transformation is complete. This is officially a cabin chassis now, no longer a dump truck. You can see all I did was I just tack welded just a quick flux core weld those tabs that were there back onto the back of these frame horns. Same thing, just some quick tacks that'll be easy to grind off. I shot some paint on there, it's drying already. Yeah, so garage door track is easily repurposed into a temporary mud flat bracket, so that'll work great. They're hanging a little low, that's why I took off the anti-sail brackets. So it's not like this thing's gonna see any miles anyway. It's mostly gonna be on the freaking trailer or parked, but yeah, that'll do it. The lights work, tested everything, brake lights, turn signals, everything's good. We got the plate back on, so if I want to go for a drive, we're legal beagle. Well, I think that's about it for this video. I actually did a few other little odds and ends to the old Loadstar, but the video's getting a little long, so I'm gonna call it good. I hope y'all are excited about what's to come, and I'm gonna leave that one a secret for just a little longer. I'm gonna leave it a secret until I acquire the next phase, and then we'll let the cat out of the bag. It's gonna be pretty freaking obvious at that point. So anyway, that's where it stands. Thank you all for watching. As always, you have no idea how much I appreciate it, and how much I appreciate all the likes and comments too. So on that note, I hope you all have a great week. Take care.